You forced them, in fact, on their third possession, you forced a punt and then came on and scored. And it was nice to see that Lenny Williams, all the things he does for this team, he finally got his rushing touchdown. And that was, I know he probably doesn't think one way or another, but that was nice to see.
You know, the last couple of weeks he's run the ball more. We had a couple plays in where we thought we could take advantage of what they were doing on defense with Lenny running. And 2 to 3 times we had it, they were very good plays for us. The one other time they kind of played it different. He probably should have gave the ball, but he had a long run on the one and scored easily down there on the goal line. So, you know, people don't realize that when Lenny does run the ball, and if it's not the zone read, we're actually getting an extra blocker. Like down on the goal line there, when he runs it, we're getting an extra blocker down there. So the first 2 that we had, we thought we were in on the second one. I believe it was Dwayne Brown, but they didn't give it to us. So the third time we called Lenny because we could get an extra blocker with him running it.
Yeah, there were some spectacular plays, and your defense was just outstanding. When you take a look at the final stats, 558 to 232, and from the beginning to end, the defense, I know Coach Smith told us on the postgame, as the season's gone along, they seem to be getting better and better.
There's no question, Jack. You know, the last 2 games against Westchester, you know, 2 kind of not blown coverage, but, you know, coverages that we didn't play right cost us the 2 touchdowns, or, you know, we probably wouldn't have given up a touchdown in either game.
Looked like the same play.
Yeah, well, the play before it was actually the play that they got us on 2 weeks ago, and they hit the corner route with the tight end for a first down, and then they ran, the next play they ran, we just blew the coverage. It was a motion. We were in man coverage. The corner took the back instead of staying on his man. So we kind of gave him that touchdown. We kind of feel like we gave him the touchdown at Westchester, but, you know, other than 2 or 3 plays the whole game, you know, we really played a great game defensively. You know, offensively, rushed for over 300 yards, hit a bunch of big plays. You know, we didn't really have a lot of big plays the first time we played them. So that was evident, and then the special teams was probably the best effort all year on special teams.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was solid from beginning to end, no question. Let me go back to the offense a little bit. In the beginning, the plays, variation of plays, did this, did that, just to keep the defense off balance. That was you know, key to the great start.
I thought our offensive staff did a great job in game planning. There's a fine line when you play the same team and you play them in 2 weeks. You don't really want to change a whole lot because what you had done the first time worked. We felt like Westchester would change a lot and we would just tweak a few things. Then as we got in, you know, when you have 2 weeks to get ready for a game, you get a couple ideas here and there. I think early in the game we really hurt them. We showed them 2 or 3 formations that we had never shown before. The one first touchdown, we showed them a formation they had never seen before. They blew the coverage. We had a guy wide open. We had a couple run plays out of formations that we hadn't shown before, and we had, you know, big advantage in the run game on them. And then, you know, like this morning, I was talking to Smitty. I thought there's about 10 plays with our defense that you'd have thought we were in Westchester's huddle, because we were checking the things that we knew we were going to get, and we were right every time. So it was just a good job by both offensive, defensive staff, and also our special teams coaches in regards to all phases of special teams. We were really a step ahead of Westchester in all 3 phases.
Let me stay with the offense again, offensive line. I know during the week you were tweaking that a little bit.
Right.
Jeff Arnold has been over at guard. Some had to bring him back. Overall, great, outstanding performance. I mean, what can you say?
Would be the word, Jack. Outstanding. I think Lenny had there was 1 sack. Other than that, we ran the ball pretty much all day, both inside and outside. You know, we had a bunch of different running backs break big runs. You know, all the way across the board. Our tight ends were really good in the run game also. The freshman Dauberman started at right guard, gave us a bigger, you know, offensive line. He played really well. Matter of fact, he had a great block on the screen. It went for a touchdown to get called back. JoJo got called for holding, but he had a great block on the perimeter that sprung the screen for the touchdown. So, you know, we're going to go as far as that offensive line takes us. There's no question about that.
Well, you know, the running backs, we've seen them all year rotating. In fact, I look at the stats. Bullock's not even on the stats in the top 4. And, we know what he can do. But Justice Evans. Now, this kid was not a running back last year at Central Catholic, was he?
No, he wasn't. As a matter of fact, we were recruiting the running back from Central Catholic, and we were recruiting Justice as a receiver. Well, the running back from Central Catholic decided to go to either I think it was Lafayette, and we recruited Justice as a receiver. But when we had the injuries in the offseason at running back, we knew we had Dwayne, but we also needed another running back to plug in. And, Justice was a running back earlier in his high school career before he went to Central Catholic.
That's what I understand, yeah.
And it's probably good that he hasn't taken that many hits. He doesn't have that many hits on his butt. Like, Dwayne carried the ball for 4 years at Apollo Ridge a lot. Mm-hmm. And so he those tires are a little bit worn out a little bit, whereas Justice is like the brand new car that has the new tires on it. He hasn't taken a lot of hits because the last 2 years he was a wide out at Central Catholic. And now I'll tell you, there's the guy that from the beginning of the year till now, I mean, his improvement is off the charts at running back, because he's getting a feel for playing running back again.
Right.
And he does have some special qualities as a running back.
Yeah, I know we've talked with Coach Luke Barker about it, and running backs, Coach Justice averaging 26 yards. He had 5 carries,
right.
So 133 yards. Alan Wright and the offensive and the wideouts. He had 7 receptions, but it's nice to see Walt Pegues come in. And I know you wanted to get him about 12, 15 plays.
Right.
Beautiful pass play from Lenny to Walt. But when he's in there, what does he do to affect the defense?
Well, as a defensive coach, I know that when Walt's in the game, they have to worry about him vertically hurting them with his speed, And the DB that he beat had a pretty big cushion on him. He was playing off, and Walt still ran right by him. Even if we don't throw the ball to Walt, it loosens up the secondary. But I think the thing that our offensive staff's done a great job of is we are using the strengths of each player to the top of the capabilities. Walt's a deep home run ball threat. We're throwing the ball deep to him. Allen's a great screen receiver, even though he made a great catch and run. He's really good with the ball in his hands, Allen. So we try to get him the ball in his hands and
that was a great catch,
create
great
space.
Yeah.
He did a great job on the screens, great job on the over route where he made a guy miss and sidestepped him for a touchdown. He's probably and Dom's, similar to both of them. Dom's a vertical threat, but he's also very good with the ball in his hands. And then we have the big receivers with JoJo, Colby, and Woosner. So, as a defensive guy looking at it, we have a bunch of different kinds of receivers, a lot of flexibility what we can do with them. But the one thing that Coach Gregory and the offensive staff are doing a great job of, we're using our receivers for what they do. We're not trying to make a possession receiver a home run threat. We're using our guys to the best of their capabilities. And, certain plays, we're running with certain receivers. But the depth is what wears people out. You see guys trying to cover our guys in the second half, and it's tough. They're playing every play, and we have guys playing about half the game at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. I know you grade these players, and if you were to grade the defense, a lot of good grades on that side. Amendola led you in tackles with 10. Well, he had 1 hit that was just outstanding.
Yep.
Forced a fumble. Redfield's very solid, your secondary. The defensive ends, the young guys, Easterling and Tillman, I could go on and on, but
right.
They all had the grade really high.
Well, usually when you start about a good defensive performance, it starts with the front. And, I think I remember the Cal game, our front 4 totally dominated that game. I think they did the same thing this week. And it's really 8 of them. When we say our front 4, we use 8 different players, and we wear teams out that way. But right from the start, we stopped the run, and the quarterback had no time to throw the ball. Now, we did run some blitzes that got home and, got a sack, and we hit the quarterback. He had a rough day. He took a lot of shots. But even when we weren't blitzing, they were struggling to get the ball off because our 4 down guys were really causing problems for their offensive line. And then usually it just kind of revolves all the way back. The linebackers played well, and then our secondary played Redfield probably played his best game of the year. He was all over the place, had a great pass breakup, forced a fumble. Matter of fact, the one run play that they blocked up pretty well that should have been a big run, he held it to 7 yards. I mean, they had everybody blocked, and all of a sudden he came out of nowhere. A play that probably should have been a 20-yard run ended up as a 7-yard run because he flashes so quickly in the alleys in the run game that we have not had a lot of runs break out against us, and he's one of the reasons why.
Yeah. Well, Dylan Sarka gave you field goals. He gave you a lot. That field goal right as the half was ending, that had to be a tremendous lift.
Well, you know, we had the ball back on our 6-yard line, so we had to run some plays because we figured they'd use their 3 timeouts, try to get us punt backed up and have maybe 20 seconds left on the half. Well, the first run, Justice took for about 60 yards, so then that put us in a 2-minute mode. They got the penalty, which hurt them on the last play when we tried the deep throw, the jump ball throw, so that opened it up for Sarka with the field goal. He was 3 for 3. Our kickoff coverage team was outstanding. Coach Signetti mentioned this morning he's never seen a kickoff coverage team cover kicks like that in all the years he's been here.
Wow.
You know, we have Woosner, McNeil, Horner, Zach Kelly, I mean, just literally flying down the field. And then on top of that, we blocked the punt also. So, and Dom had a good kick return. So we really played well in all phases of the special teams, too.
And you're going to need it this week. We talk about Assumption, maybe bring us up to date. They're 11-1 coming off the Findlay victory, and they have some pretty impressive stats by special people.
Well, they have a guy, Deontay Harris. He's a junior from out of Maryland. He's a wide out. He's about 5'7", 175 pounds. And he's probably the fastest guy we'll play against, bar none. He can flat out fly. He holds the Division II record in kickoff returns for touchdowns. He returned 2 for touchdowns against Findlay. He scored 2 touchdowns in the pass game as a wide receiver. He's a home run threat. Every time he touches the ball, he's one of those guys that can score from anywhere on the field. He's that dynamic of a player. He'll be the best offensive threat that we'll play against all year because he not only in the pass game with the deep ball, he's also dangerous on short throws running with the ball after the catch. And then in the kick and punt return game, I mean, he had 2 kickoff returns Saturday. One, it was a squib kick. It bounced off a couple guys. He picked it up on about the 20-yard line. And the coverage team was fairly close to him because it took forever for him to gather the ball up. The ball wasn't even supposed to get to him, and he went 80 yards for a touchdown. The other return was a kick that was a good kick. It was pretty windy up there, I guess. It was a tough catch. He caught the ball on the goal line above his head, above his helmet, and he went 100 yards or 98 yards for a touchdown there. So alone, he accounted for 4 touchdowns on 4 plays. And they were all big plays. You know, his touchdown catch was, I think, an 80-yard catch on a deep overrun, and then he caught it around the 45, 50-yard line and just outran everybody from Findlay. So he's a definite guy that we have to stop in the kicking game, obviously, and then our defense has to be aware of where he's at all times.
And you and I talked coming over here, too. They got a great place kicker. He hasn't missed an extra point all year. His longest field goal is 53 yards. He's like a D1 guy in a D2 uniform.
Well, he's a kid from California, so he's probably grown up kicking in great weather. So he's kicked a lot of balls, so to speak. You know, he opened the game up Saturday. You know, it was a very windy day. Kicked a 50-yard field goal. I think it was with the wind at his back because it made it by 7 or 8 yards. So he got them off to a great start with a field goal on the first drive of 50 yards. He's very he can kick. He has a 53-yarder. Anytime they get to the opposite 35, 40-yard line, they're a threat to kick field goals. So he's a guy that, you know, you've got to be, you hope that they don't beat you kicking field goals, but, you know, this is a team that will attempt a lot of field goals. A lot of teams we play go for it on 4th down when they get inside our 30. This team will try field goal anywhere on the field.
Well, in wrapping it up, kickoff was at noon. I think we both agree, as others would, that we had a good crowd on hand. The IUP band was there. Now the students are back. The atmosphere, everything is here now, and as you said, here we go. It's the next game up, right?
Well, our players believe in that, Jack. We've talked about it for 12 games now. The next game, that's all we're looking at. Again, as I've stated a lot of times, our players love the support that we're getting. You know, it is very important to get home field advantage. And we've taken advantage of it not only during the regular season by our crowds, but also in the first playoff game. A big crowd into the game, very loud. You know, it's been great. Our players really feed off of that. So hopefully this week with the students back, on top of the support we're getting from the community and the alumni, I know there was at least over 50 or 60 players, former players that, you know, there were former players at the game that I didn't even see that texted me or emailed me after the game. And I saw pictures at different pictures taken of all kind of different football players. So there had to be over 60 or 65 former players there Saturday. I know we'll have a big crowd in regards to former players this Saturday. I know we'll have a big crowd in regards to our community. And then with the students coming back, this is why we've worked so hard to get home field advantage. So we've got to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Hey, what else can we say? Good luck. Let's have some fun, and it's exciting, no question.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Coach Tort with us, and kickoff is at noon against Assumption University of Worcester, Mass. The Greyhounds. The next step is Saturday. Thanks for joining us. This is Jack Benedict, and have a really good day.